I think what it's been for me is just over time. Like in school, I got picked on quite a bit for maybe my nose. My nose at the time especially stood up pretty pronounced, and or maybe it was my weight, or my hairline, forehead, stuff like that. And there's some mean people out there, and they think they're joking when they say something, but it can really hurt your feelings. And at the moment you can laugh it off, but then it just kind of sticks around. You don't really realize it. It just sits in the back of your brain for a while, and you're like, oh, well, would they say that if they didn't see it? Would they say it if they didn't mean it? And then it can just kind of stick around, and I feel like that's how insecurities are formed. It's just damages in the past. So continually throughout my life, I know like I've had things that I've had to battle with insecurities that have affected personal relationships and stuff, and I hate that. So it's always been a personal goal of mine to try to find ways to combat it. And I feel like a lot of people go through the same thing, a similar thing. There's things that about ourselves that we see that no one else sees, that we're hard on ourselves for, that no one else is hard on them for. Maybe they just went through one experience where someone said something wrong to them and it just stuck around. So I think that post mostly was just about, it's advice that I'm giving to myself, basically. Like, I need to be able to give myself more credit. I need to be able to try to combat those feelings when I don't need to feel that way. And also just there's a lot more, unfortunately, rude men that are willing to just be brutally mean in comments. Like, I don't see that happen with women to men. Like there'll be an Instagram post on someone else's page where it's like a shared page and they post a woman, and maybe it's like a modeling photo, and I've noticed you're not going to see, if there was a man, you're not going to see women on the comment section just tearing them apart, but for some reason there's like these ruthless guys that'll just say awful, terrible things just for the sake of hurting their feelings. That, and also like you're saying, like the pressure of oh, you need this, you need to have this implant, you have to have this sort of surgery and stuff like that. I agree with you. I think women have it a lot harder as far as developing insecurities and trying to battle them. I agree 100%. So before Fearless, our previous management threw upside down. That company actually dropped us. It's the first time we've ever been dropped. And then they got us to leave our previous booking agent for this booking agency they really wanted us to join. They're like, well, you have to leave this because this is the answer. This is how you're gonna, this is gonna be the one that takes you to the top. And we're like, oh, you must know. So we did, and they both left us. So we're like, well, now we're abandoned. The loyalty was slim to none, and it hurt. It hurt a lot. Because this is your whole life. If you're in a band, this is your whole life. It has to be. If it's not your whole life, you're not going to make it. It consumes you. It's your passion. It's your love. It's your baby. And to have someone basically tell you, we don't believe in you, bye. It's devastating. Talking about insecurities, like that can really break you down. And it did break us down. I know, especially me, for a couple months. I was in a real deep depression. I was questioning everything. I broke down in a grocery store, not even meaning to. It just kind of happened. It was a dark time, and that's why it was like. But if there's anything about Set It Off that I've known, it's that we've gone through a lot of dark times, and anytime we get like even a little bit of struggle that comes our way, we'll live in it for a second, and then we'll find a solution. We'll get over it, and that's what we did. We knew it sucked at the time. We barreled through it. We found our solution. We found our team. We revitalized everything, found our producer, created our album Midnight, and it's been the most successful record we've ever done. So it's kind of fuel at times, like we can get hurt, but we're just going to turn it into energy and make it into a positive. It's always been my favorite. It's weird. I'm a lot more at home when I'm in a band with a group. Like I get nervous during karaoke, or I get nervous if I used to be a clarinetist, and when I would do like a solo thing, I would get really nervous for that. But when I'm on stage, I have no nerves. I never get nervous on stage. I feel at home entirely, and it's liberating in the sense that I can be the most intense version of myself, but also get out everything. It's like a therapy session, and I connect and I feed off of the people that are in the crowd. I see, this is going to sound so cheesy, but I mean this, like, you can see the pain other people are going through. Like the people that are really into it, like that are really singing it and putting their hands up. Like you can tell they're not just doing that for no reason. They're doing it because they're venting, and you feed off of that. If there was if it was just all, I feel so bad whenever I see an artist perform just because their genre appeals to an audience that doesn't move. Like maybe it's like I'm not going to call out a genre or anything, but like there's certain genres that don't beckon you to wave your hands, clap, jump, give energy. I couldn't do that. I need the energy. It's my safe haven. It allows me to express myself, and so that's why it's my happy place. I find time. I find ways. Like I'm a selective introvert. I like being out. I like going out when I want to. But a lot of the times, I'm totally content with just staying at home. Or sometimes on tour, the way I get my solo time on tour is I'll take myself out to dinner. Like I'll go to a restaurant, like a place where I really want to eat, and I'll go sit in a place that's secluded, and I'll just have a nice meal alone with my thoughts. And I really enjoy that. Or plug in headphones and drift away and play video games or something like that. Like I really appreciate like me time, and whenever I can get it, I try to take full advantage. I didn't know how much it was going to connect with everybody, but it really did. It was cool because like we live in Los Angeles now, and there's sometimes some social pressure to want to go out all the time, and sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't. And when I get invited out, I don't want to turn it down because then I'll feel like that I don't want to be their friend, but I do. I just really sometimes need to not be around people, and I didn't know how many other people feel the same way. Of just like I don't want to be social. I just want to sit at home and just be me right now. And it's surprising how many other people feel that way, and it's nice to know that I'm not alone in that. No pun intended. Absolutely. I think you need to. I think the person you see on stage is not at all the person that they are. Not at all, but like I'm not running around jumping up and down off the walls when I'm off stage. You know what I mean? This is me. Hi. I'm just like I'm a lot more chill. I like to play video games and sit down. You know what I mean? Like it's a totally different side. So I think it's not uncommon that I'll find other people that are in bands that have the similar mentality of they like their peace, they like their quiet, they like their time to just sit alone, get stuff done, or relax, or but you know, you need both. You need a balance. You can't be all that because then you're going to get alone. You're going to feel alone, and you're going to crave. That's why I use selective introvert. I enjoy being an introvert, but I also enjoy being an extrovert. So I think a lot of people are a mixture. Absolutely, it's such a powerful. It's weird that you have to refer to it as a concept, but it's a very powerful concept. Actually, it's kind of ironic about there being such a reference to time within our new record is when I met Dan our freshman year of high school, we were in marching band, and the title of the show was called Time, Imagine the Possibilities. It was just filled with quotes about time and like the value of a millisecond in a race, or like how much like time matters and the weight of it. And it always sat in the back of my head, and I've always thought about that, you know, like especially as a musician, a lot of people think that there's like this like a shelf life per band, you know what I mean? And it can be a scary thought, but I feel like we're showing ourselves 10 years in that isn't necessarily a thing. Like we just released a new album that we're the biggest we've ever been so far, and everything seems to be pointing in the right direction. So we just got to hope that we can keep that momentum rolling. But time is always a factor. You got to keep in mind that you cannot take it for granted. I'd be lying if I said yes, because you need to think about your past. That's why history classes exist. You need to learn from your mistakes, and if you totally forget everything you've ever done, then you're screwed. It's hard. I tend to dwell as a person. If I went through something, or if I feel like I did something wrong, I dwell. And it's not something I know that is conducive to happiness, but I do know that it is a thing that I do, and it's something that I'm working on. But I think it's a normal reaction. I think you have to let yourself feel those things. If you messed up, feel bad. You know, it's okay to have a moral compass and react that way. I feel like you're more in trouble if you do something bad and then you somehow convince yourself that you're right, because then that's the beginning of a terrible rest of your life, because then what's next that you're okay with? What's the next thing that you're okay with? And I think it's important to be able to feel how you feel when you want to feel it and not put so many restrictions on yourself as a person. Happy All the Time. Happy All the Time is definitely the most hopeful song, because for me, I really liked, because like when I was growing up, my favorite songs were the ones that really related to me, like maybe in like a dark place in the verses, but the choruses were like a, hey, cheer up, everything's going to be okay. And I find that it's an effective way to help people out, also help me out when I'm writing it. The verses are like, you know, when's the last time I felt this low, dug myself a canyon to hide my woes. It's all about like, I'm really in this low place. But the chorus is, it's okay, you're not crazy, you gotta taste that salt to love the sweet, you know, let it out and scream I'm okay. Like you have to be sad, you're going to be sad, you have to be, it's going to keep happening. It's the only way that you know what happiness is. There has to be a contrast of juxtaposition, you know, like how would you know what happiness is if you were never sad? You know, so I love that song because it's a very hopeful song, and I think it has the same sort of effect as Why Worry, where it's like if you're stressed out, you can put it on and be like, okay, it's okay to feel this way. I don't have to feel like I'm broken or damaged because I'm sad. You know, it's a normal part of life. I mean, every time we go into the studio, I get constantly inspired by the people that come in and write with us, if we're talking just about music in general. You know, we wrote with a woman named Simon Wilcox, and I'm usually very protective of the lyrical process. I just tend to like get in my own corner sometimes, which, well, it's collaborative, but I'm very particular about how I want it to come out and how, because it has to really connect to me, obviously, if I'm going to sing it every day. But she was the first person I had like a pretty 50-50 collaboration with, as far as like she would come to me with like a whole idea, and I'm usually like, I back off to that sort of thing. But she has a brilliant mind, and just how she thinks, she would just kind of go, you would see her leave for a second and just create the story. Like, she would ask me how I'm feeling. It was almost like a psychology session. How am I feeling? What is this about? What does that lyric mean to you? And she'd go off for a second mentally and be writing, and then come back like, oh, what do you think about this? And I'm like, that is amazing. She was really involved with the song Hourglass and Killer in the Mirror. And she helped us bring her perspective in of how she interpreted it and how I interpreted it. In Happy All the Time, writing with Sky was incredible. He's an amazing bassist, and seeing a musician like that at work, and seeing his musical knowledge come at play when he started getting on the keys, like just being around talented people. Like I love surrounding myself with people that are better than me. You know what I mean? Like our producer, Brandon Paddock, was one of the reasons I became gravitated towards him. Is he's a better producer than me. I think he's honestly a better songwriter than me, which is, you know, I don't mind being humble to that, but I like being around him because he elevates me. I've become a much better writer by being around him. I feel like that's important. You got to surround yourself with people that inspire you.